Welcome back to the Outer Dimensions podcast. Welcome back to the channel where we discuss movies, past, present, maybe even a few future ones, some parallel ones. And as always, we have Dre, the CEO of the Collector's Safe Space, and of course, co-host, co-founder of the Outer Dimensions podcast.
What up, everybody? Finally got a working headset that you guys can hear me clear and not be freaking out. So it's awesome.
And of course, I am Dave of Dave's Dimension, also co-founder, co-host of the Outer Dimension podcast. We do apologize that we've been kind of MIA for the past few weeks. Life does not give us any breaks.
Adulting
Those,
sucks.
those that know, I was actually in between jobs, and I finally was able to secure a position somewhere, but my work schedule has now made it impossible for us to do live streams on Wednesdays, at least for now. Things may change in the future, and I'm doing everything, making all the moves possible so we can resume our live streams on Wednesdays. But we're going to be doing some pre-recorded content for the time being, and it will still live stream on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And you may even find Dre popping up in the chat so he can respond to anyone and everyone. But this week, guys, you guys have been loving it. The best film battles where me and Dre have been picking a few movies from here and there. We did the DCEU animated universe where we
R.I.P.
went head to head.
R.I.P.
RIP. Hey. Well, no, I think the animated movies will probably still go forward because
Oh,
it's
the
probably cheaper.
animated movies are no. What the new stuff is terrible already. If we're starting off with the movie that they just put out, Crisis, which was terrible.
I I haven't watched that one yet, but
I gotta put it. I'll put it on the drive
yep,
so you can
yeah.
watch it. It's
But
terrible.
I found something out today. Apparently, the Suicide Squad move or video game that out
It's
features.
horrible.
Would you let me finish?
Go ahead. Go ahead. It's a
You
horrible video game,
friggin'
folks.
chia head.
I don't have
No,
any hair.
we're not here to talk about the quality. I found out some very amazing information for fans of DC animation. Apparently, Mr. Kevin Conroy was featured in Suicide Squad, the video
Mhm.
game. This is not his last voice recording or his last appearance. Is his second last, so he will be appearing in
No,
something
there
coming
was
in
his third to last. He has two
third
other
to last.
animated. Yeah, there was two other animated
So,
things that he's done that was pre-records that he did before he passed. One
yep.
of which is the Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2, where he reprises his role as Batman. And then the third one is an unnamed project which nobody has yet heard of.
But that's tremendous given that what it's been about 2 years since he passed,
hmm
and it's amazing that we're still getting some content from him, years later. It's almost like Tupac and Biggie. Uh,
I did
so
just as people understand that there was a lot of negativity behind that because of the
Tupac and Biggie?
no of the hey, give me that. That's too loud. You can't play with that while I'm talking. Sorry, she has this wand that's making noises. No,
For those listening to us on podcast, Dre was just holding up a children's microphone.
it was a Coco Melon wand that plays music and it's like a microphone. My daughter, y'all know Peanut. She was decides to pick it up and start playing it. So, but yeah, they said that the argument that a lot of fans were having was the death scene because obviously it is Batman being killed in the Suicide Squad game by
Yeah.
Harley Quinn, and they said it was very tasteless, but I was like, if you watch it, they said that everybody that's in these Rocksteady studios
Mm.
has this odd fascination, desire to kill Batman, and
I
I was
mean,
like,
they've killed him a few times in the Arkham,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
in the Arkham game, so yeah, why not? And let's be honest, it's Harley Quinn. How are you gonna have a tasteful death involving Harley Quinn?
and the Joker, like,
Yeah.
so
So, I mean, that's neither here nor there, but I just thought it was some awesome news that I heard today. But yes, guys, we are doing the best film battles, episode 2, best 80s films. Now, these are not the
BFB.
best 80s films of all time.
Oh no,
These
that's a
just happen
separate.
to be these just happen to be 5 amazing films that each of us really enjoy.
You can
And that
rewatch them.
and
if they're on the TV and you
that
catch them on the
you
screen,
can watch over and over again. These are just 5 of our favorites from the 80s. You may see the 80s, battle of the 80s come back again and again. Our next episode is gonna feature best of the 90s. But so we're gonna kind of battle my 5 picks versus Dre's 5 picks. Are you guys ready? Well,
wait,
let's
it's Triple H say, "Are you ready?"
ladies and gentlemen, no. Uh,
I mean,
so
folks, you can't beat this wallpaper I found. I looked for, I googled
so
wallpapers that fix the '80s. This is come on.
those who might be listening to us on podcast, Dre is referring to this. It's kind of a tan background, almost like comic book slash movie reel themes, where you see Harrison Ford's Decker from Blade Runner in the upper left hand corner. To the upper right hand corner, we see E.T. And of course, right in the center, we have Prince from Purple Rain. We have Jack Nicholson from The Shining, you know. And of course, we get a small little image of Peter Weller as RoboCop stepping out of his cruiser. And of course, I mean, come on,
Spike
the
Lee.
man, the man himself.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, he is quintessentially probably one of, I mean, it's also Black History Month when this episode will be that's going out. So we will be in the
Yes.
second week of Black History Month, and I will be doing something with Dave to set a video dedicated to Black History Month that will come out sometime this month before it ends, or go before the month ends. So by the first week of March, you should see something pop up soon. So trust
So,
me, it's
yep.
coming.
Stay tuned to the Outer Dimensions podcast. And by the way, guys, you can always catch up on the Outer Dimensions podcast on our YouTube channel, the Outer Dimensions podcast. But you can also find our streams and our videos on, of course, the Collector Safe Space on YouTube, Dave's Dimension on YouTube, because we stream on all the channels. And of
Hmm.
course, you can find us on the Outer Dim Pod on Twitter, aka X. You can also find us on the Outer Dimensions podcast on Instagram. And if you want to make any suggestions for future episodes, or you have some great ideas, or you want to partner with us in the future on anything whatsoever, hint, hint, pop, pop, wink, wink, uh, you can always email us at the Outer Dimensions podcast at gmail.com. But yeah, if you anyone who's listening, if you are trying to figure out who I meant by when I said the man, we're talking about Spike Lee.
Oh yeah, yeah. Spike Lee is
I mean, just
quintessentially well known and world renowned for White Men
you know,
Can't Jump. You
honestly, I
know,
would have. You know what? I would love to see him and Quentin Tarantino team up for a project. I
I
think
think
it
they're
would.
two
I
polar
think,
opposites, though. I think they're polar opposites in their
but
style.
you know
You
what
know,
though? I mean, you can have two polar opposites.
I mean, but it could
I
be
mean,
it could be a hit or a miss. I think that if you get like with
you'll never know if we don't try. That's all I'm saying.
oh no, I'm not saying don't try it. Quentin Tarantino, if you see this or
I
Spike Lee, you
mean,
see this, please do something. Work on a project.
Spike Lee was so quintessential. I mean, he pushed the envelope on, and he brought stories
Jungle
that
Fever.
were never brought up at the time. He pushed the envelope, and let's be honest, Quentin Tarantino, he pushed the envelope. He ripped up the envelope, taped it, and then ripped it again. But I just think that those are two titans. You know what? We might have to do an episode where we pick our favorite Quentin Tarantino and favorite Spike Lee movies. Those might be on the list somewhere down the line.
Actually,
You
how
know,
about we do that for Black History? I mean,
we could do
you can't argue Black History without talking about Spike Lee being one. I mean, Anton Fuqua would be another great one to
yeah
talk about. But I mean, like we could literally just do Spike Lee for Black History. I would love to do
yeah
that. That'll be our Black History video. We'll do
yep. I mean,
best Spike Lee
Crooklyn. I
movie.
mean, come on.
Crooklyn, Jungle Fever, The Five Bloods, American Utopia, Black
Yep.
Messiah. I mean, folks, these are just all his modern stuff. We're not even
I mean,
talking about like things that he's
I,
had a finger in, like
you-
White Men Can't Jump. You know,
I'll say this. He's always been good at getting music too. Or what about Singleton? John Singleton.
John Singleton's another one. Damn, man. He got game.
Leave it up to the white guy to.
Do the Right Thing. Mo Better
Uh,
Blues.
I was just saying.
Malcolm X. Crooklyn. Clockers. I mean, folks. I mean, A Miracle at Santa Ana, which was a great
Yeah.
film. You know, I
I
mean,
mean, John Singleton is just he. There's no words. I mean, like,
well, that was the Spike Lee who I just said. That was all Spike
oh,
Lee's movies.
yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, Singleton's a big one. I mean, there's so many great African American directors that honestly, let's be honest, you hear like at the Oscars, or you hear on these award shows, you hear them talking about this or that. I mean, come on. I mean, should you don't hear about them because they were the ones. They were the misfits. They were the outcasts, the guys who are pushing the envelope, who made their success on their terms and no one else's. You know, so that's how I view it. But let's get the show on the road. We're sidebarring here. We're not that that podcast, but uh,
We pretty much are that
which
podcast.
which I listen to that podcast every Monday. You know, shameless plug for them. Sidebar Cantina. Those guys are amazing. Um, but let's go ahead and get the show on the road here. So our first one.
I mean, for me, it's obvious. At number 5, you have to go with the timeless classic of Aliens. I mean, how Ridley Scott was ahead of his
And
time by already. He already had a bunch of great films under his belt.
let's be honest, this was the first time you had one a suspenseful sci-fi movie that had a sequel. Because
Yeah,
suspenseful sci-fi, I mean, we had sci-fi movies like you know,
Star
your
Wars.
well, Star Wars, Star Trek. I mean, we can go on, but I mean, this was I mean, let's be honest, Alien was it was a suspense thriller. It was horror too, let's be honest, because in space nobody can hear you scream.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
what was
it's
it? There's some place in the universes you can't go alone.
yeah.
I mean, like they really marketed Aliens, and we all
And
know Grieger is a horror
now
icon.
now this is Dre's pick. Okay, this
Yeah,
is Dre's pick, but I'm a fan of this because I mean, even look at the poster here. Let's take a look at the poster. James Cameron, Sigourney Weaver, obviously. She was already an amazing actress by this time. Music score by James Horner, Stan Winston. I mean, they these are titans. These are people who are just uh, Dan O'Bannon. I mean, you had just I mean, and look how many times James Cameron's name is on here. I mean, he did. I mean, he was. This is before, like, you know, this was like after Terminator. I think this was
no,
just after
T
Terminator because I
one
think this is
T1.
86 if I
So yeah,
remember correctly.
this would have been past the Terminator, the very first
Yeah,
movie.
the Terminator was 1984 if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
This was 86. I mean, and let's be honest, he was great at picking uh female action leads. Yeah, I said that, Brie Larson. What are you gonna do about it?
We do
uh
not. I do not support what Dave just said. Brie Larson, my wife and my girls love you. I love you too. Keep doing what you're doing.
Brie Larson, if you want to, you know, you want to cancel me, Grand
Don't,
Island, New York, you can find me. I'm right
go
here.
after him.
I'm
Don't
afraid of
go
you.
after me. We love you. We buy the Marvels merchandise. We supported the movie. We love you. I'm 100% in your corner. My wife's favorite superhero is Captain Marvel,
So I'm just saying.
and that's the truth.
Um, but no, I mean, let's be honest. I'm gonna give Dre all the respect possible because this is a great film.
I mean, it's one of my favorite movies.
I mean,
Like Dave said, this is my pick, but this is definitely a pick that I think
and I mean, come on.
anybody would pick because it's
There's
hands
so many
down.
great lines in this movie. We're all gonna die, man.
See, I don't even think of the lines. I just think of remembering how many times that this movie has come up. Like I've remember when we had cable TV in the house, and even when I looked where I've had friends that had cable TV, and this movie
Bro.
comes on, you
I
sit down and
remember
just start
going
watching
to
it.
the drive-ins and watching this.
I mean, I had this on
Okay,
DVD. I've seen this on Laserdisc.
because this was my mom was dating my dad, who's technically my stepfather, but I always call him dad. Um, and he took us to the movies. And I remember seeing this in at the drive-in.
That's cool.
Okay, I mean, and mind you, I was born in '78. I was 8 years old, and I can remember this. Okay,
I'm a '78 baby too, so
I
me
mean,
and
I
Dave,
remember seeing Predator.
things movies that we should not have been seeing, folks. We were
Carl
seeing.
Weathers, rest in peace.
R.I.P. Carl
We just got
Weathers.
the news the other day. I mean, another amazing film that we're going to cover another point in time. But I mean, Aliens is just it's one of those standout. It was way better than the first film too.
See,
It really was.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I think the first one was by far
I'm gonna
was the
say the
best.
quality of the film
Well,
was a
no.
little bit more, or the production, I should say, was a little bit better than the first one.
All right.
How's
So
that?
from my pick, the reason why I would even say Alien, which was '79, mind you, at the time, that movie did what I think any first movie that is going to become a franchise did, which was world build. It gave us the picture and the images of what the Prometheans or what the alien race that created the xenomorphs that we later found out in Prometheus and in Alien, the was it Covenant, so the later sequels of the end of the series. And if you are a fan, I think world building for me as a person who plays Dungeons and Dragons and loves
Hmm.
that depth of creativity, the first Alien and Aliens really does that for you. It gives you that depth of the world, you're feeling involved. And I think it's a hands down. It's like I said, my old roommates, when we had cable TV in the house, I remember one day we were all eating pizza in the kitchen, and one of my roommates put the TV on, and we literally, you just had four guys just sitting on the
Yeah.
couch watching the movie because it's just so engrossing. Because we remember, when you see Newt and you start seeing the cat, and you're like, and you see the suit come out, and you see her break out the suit and fights the
Jonesy.
alien queen.
Yep.
You just, there's so much to it that's just,
I
it's
mean, the
quintessentially just a great
loader,
movie.
the loader itself. I mean, I see people at cons who have made the loader and they're walking around in the loader and
How
stuff.
many
I mean,
companies have remade that figure and made the toy to be
um,
from Haya Toys to NECA to Japanese companies like Figma, SH
at a
Figuarts?
later time, I need to find the photos and I'm going to share them with Dre. There's someone who last year, husband and wife team. Husband made this rig, and his wife has worn it to many cons. It is an Aliens Ghostbusters crossover with the gun with the swivel, the steady cam mount. They've done a Ghostbuster Aliens crossover with it, and they do the whole outfit and everything, and they just kill it.
That sounds
Like
dope.
they're like they're the Colonial Marines, and they freaking kill it like there's no tomorrow. But
So I
I
again my
I
the reason
I
my
c- I can't fault you for this pick. I really can't.
no, and I can't fault you for yours, which I mean is the Goonies. I mean, how do you the
Goonies
Goonies?
never say die.
I mean, truly, truly iconic. Like I've asked my wife, who is
I
not a
mean,
nerd.
we get young Thanos.
Let's wait. Let's not even go there. Let's just let me get this. Let me get this out. My wife, who is not a nerd,
But she married
has
one.
she marries one, and I told her, I said there are some movies you had to have seen growing up, and I know my mother-in-law is very conservative, and she was like, "Yeah, I've seen Goonies." I'm like, "Okay, okay." I was like, "You could agree Goonies was freaking awesome," and she's like, "Oh, it was great." Beetlejuice, that's another one, but that's not on the list, and that would be '90s anyway. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, even the people that don't consider themselves nerds know Goonies is just iconic. Stranger Things is as close to a modern day Goonies as you're gonna get.
Dre,
And
I have to correct you. Beetlejuice 88.
oh, it's '88. I thought it was early. That's so.
Shut you
Hey,
down like that.
that's please. Like I get look at my ego. It's so fragile. I feel so insulted. But
He's
yeah,
been canceled.
I know now I've been canceled. But yeah, Dave, I can't fault you for your pick. I think I love
I
the
mean,
movie.
Do you know why I picked this? I love the Goonies so much. I actually have several shirts that say Goonies never say die, and I always get compliments like, "Love your shirt," because everyone loves the Goonies.
Who
This
doesn't?
was like this was like the first time we get like a real kids adventure. That wasn't like the Apple Dumpling Gang from Disney or some, some
Honestly,
cookie cutter
it's
crap like that.
it beats out a couple other movies too, like Stand, but not Stand by Me, but yeah, Stand by Me.
Well, look at some of the people we get in this movie. Robert Davi, okay? We get young Thanos in here. We get Samwise Samwise is in here,
Samwise Gamgee.
and do you know why I gravitate towards him so much?
So you get Sean Astin.
Asthmatic. You get the asthmatic dreamer. You get, the come on, Chunk with the trouble shuffle.
So let's go with some big names. Obviously, Sean Astin, like he just
Yes.
said. Joe Pantoliano,
Yeah, Joey Pants.
Joey Pants, Corey Feldman,
Yep. Who's still with us, believe
who's
amazingly.
exactly Josh Brolin.
Yep.
And obviously, for those of you that are the uninitiated into the world of anything that's like going on with Disney, and he has been nominated for an Academy Award as a
Yes.
Best Director, Ke Hu Kwan, known as
Played Data.
Data.
Yep.
I mean,
Who
the guy is amazing, and it was in Loki season 2.
Yep. And rumor has it, and this has been in development hell. They've been trying to develop a one-off season or series of Goonies,
I
but
don't want
for
that.
writing purposes or production wise, they haven't been able to seal the deal for everybody. Plus, I think for the original actors who are still with us, they're probably waiting for the right kind of story. They don't
I
just want
always
to do it for a payday. Let's be honest.
I said that if you ever did this, you got to do it like Ghostbusters. It's got to be done. It's got to be the right story, the right time, and even you
Their
as a
grandkids.
like their grandkids or like their like
How
their
old
kids
do
are
we feel
now.
that we have to say it has to be their grandkids? I'm
Honestly,
just saying.
I'm not gonna argue that, but I will say this though: it would be cool if it wasn't their grandkids, that it was their kids that found their stories out, and like the grandkids and the kids go on an adventure,
Yeah.
a la like not like a Disney style like thing. I'm talking like dark, like Goonies was kind of dark. I mean, it was based on like several different
I mean,
murders and
you
things.
had bank robbers, shooting at the kids. They're willing to kill them. The whole I mean, it would be cool if to find out what happened to One Eye Willie's ship, because we see the ship sail at the end. Whatever happened to that? You
Was
know?
there was there missed I mean, and obviously with CGI is what it is now, you
Yeah.
could only imagine, like, them doing some sort of, like, mysticism that, like, maybe the spirit came back and, like,
Yeah.
haunted. It'd be kinda cool to see that. I mean, again,
Yeah.
it would tug at my heartstrings to go take my kids to go see the Goonies and then have them years later.
Well, it's like, I mean, think about it. Disney has done some amazing things recently. I mean, take a look at the Mighty Ducks series. It brought
So
people.
sad it
It
got
brought.
canceled.
Yeah. I didn't. Honestly, I did not watch it. My wife was watching it.
It was good.
Many of my good friends were watching it, and they were raving so much about it. And
Season 1 was good. Season 2 was kinda eh.
but I mean, it's sometimes Disney can strike lightning. Sometimes they can catch lightning in a bottle. Sometimes they do a pretty good sequel to something, Willow, and then they just like toss it to the side. It's just something that happens. But I mean, this is a story. Yes, it is dated, but you can put kids in front of a TV and they're gonna watch this and they're gonna enjoy it. It's one of those things that you just sit there and you enjoy the hell out of it. I mean, it's a crazy type of adventure. Um, I mean, there's very few movies that I think kind of capture the story or the spirit of this. I'll even say that even Home Alone, to a certain extent, captures the spirit of Goonies, because you have an outcast, well, in this movie, a lot of outcasts, and they're in a situation and they rise above the bad guys. They go on this amazing adventure that no one would ever believe in a million years, but yet it happens. And honestly, I would love to see more stuff like this kind of come back, or have something in the spirits of this. Have the crazy kid adventure movies kind of come back, and I think that's something that's sorely missing in Hollywood. I mean, come on, you're beating dead horses, you're making clones of those dead horses, and you're beating them against death. Do something original. Give us some action, some true action adventures with kids. I think that's why Ghostbusters Afterlife succeeded so well, because 90% of the film are kids.
Teenagers, which and
Yeah,
that's it's a market.
teenagers.
Think about it.
uh,
The market in the 80s and
yeah,
the 80s and 90s was to get teenagers to want to go to the movies with their friends.
Last
And
Action Hero is a favorite of mine.
Sidekicks, Last Action
Yes,
Hero, Back to the
sidekicks.
Future, you
Yeah, I
know,
mean, that's the thing. You do something with a young person that goes on an amazing adventure that is beyond belief. Think of more. I mean, I could throw some kid friendly, some family friendly movies out there. A Kid in King Arthur's Court,
that was Disney.
rookie of the year.
Another Disney film.
Okay, Angels in the Outfield. I mean, these are all great films. Some of these are sports oriented, yes, but I mean, a lot of them are just kids going on these amazing adventures. I mean, come on, uh, rookie of the year, a kid breaks his arm, it turns into like an amazing pitcher's arm, and he gets to play in the majors. I mean, that's something you would never think would ever happen in a billion years. Goonies, you get the older brother, he's got the hots for this one girl, and there's this crazy adventure, and he's kind of, has to go along with his younger brother, his younger brother is really like the heart and soul of the Goonies. And the Goonies, and if you've never seen this film, the Goonies are this group of outcasts, and they call themselves the Goonies. You know, and I mean, you get the smart kid, you get the fast talker, who's obviously Corey Feldman, a very young Corey Feldman, like around the maybe just after Gremlins, because I think Gremlins was 84. This was
Mhm.
86, if I remember correctly. Don't shoot me if I'm not right on that. But I mean, you had all these amazing. I mean, Josh Brolin, and the thing
85.
is, with Josh Brolin, after this, we might see him pop up in one or two things, and then we really didn't see him in anything mainstream. And then like he comes back out of nowhere, and he's doing all these great films. Of course, a lot of the nerds are going to know him as Thanos. um but I mean,
I
he's a
know him as
really great
Oldboy.
actor.
I know him in 310 to Yuma. Not 310
Yep.
to Yuma. It wasn't in 310 to Yuma. He was in True Grit, the
Yes,
remake of True Grit.
but I mean, he's done a lot of smaller stuff since then, and I mean, he is his father's son.
Mhm.
you know and he's a great actor, a great talent, and this movie just had a lot of great talents in there. But yeah, that's, I mean, to me, Goonies will never say die. Goonies is always going to be something that I will always sit down and watch. So,
What's next? Let's go to the next one.
oh, Dre might shoot me. I don't know.
I can't fault you for that choice either. I mean, like, first off, let's my choice is Conan the Barbarian. For
Yes.
obvious reasons, I chose the Japanese
Do you,
poster because the
but
poster
well,
is
one,
just
let's be honest, the poster's just freaking Billy Badass. I'm trying to get the Ghostbusters version of that poster where they have the Japanese lettering. There's
I
Ghostbuster variants.
I might be able to find you one when I go to
But
when I go to Comic-Con.
let's just take a look at it. Like, I mean, from a distance, you wouldn't necessarily say that that is Schwarzenegger, really, with the way that they did the art and everything. But I mean, Conan the Barbarian, that's the one that started it all. I mean, you got Ed, was it James Earl Jones?
James Earl Jones, R.I.P.
Yep.
He
No,
did it.
he's not
I thought
dead.
he passed. I thought he passed a long time ago, dude. He might have
Trying to,
passed. If he hasn't, I'm sorry. I swear
oh,
to God,
I'm like, no, he's still alive, man. Vader will never die. What are you talking about? James Earl Jones. Yeah, he's 93.
Wow, God bless him.
Born, by the way,
31,
happy
90,
belated birthday. 1931, January 17th. He is 93
man.
and still kicking.
So obviously, for anybody that just heard what I said before, again, I love world building, and my uncle, who is a retired New York corrections officer, he did several years. He retired and moved to North Carolina. He used to draw the Frank Franzettas. So for anybody that knows, Conan's art style is done by the Frank Franzettas of the world, who are very known for their like big muscular men and like the women always being very scantily clad, but they're very like Barbarella, you know, heavy metal art style. And Conan, obviously, for me, this was the story of a kid who's dealing with it's on Hyboria, so it's on a totally
Yes.
different planet that's not Earth. But obviously, the setting is the Middle East.
Maybe
Obviously,
an
for
outer dimension.
maybe, but for it's on the planet Hyboria, and on Hyboria, it's called the Hyborian Age, which is like where there's like these sort of cults of gods that like are Egyptian, like because they're tied to the Egyptian mythology of like Set, and Set's the serpent god in this movie. And obviously, James Earl Jones is the head of that cult, and you end up finding out
Yes.
he destroyed
Really
Conan's.
bad long haired wig.
God, it was terrible. But he destroyed Conan's village and wiped his whole
Yeah.
family out. And Conan goes on like what any true hero would do. He goes on a quest to go become powerful and go after the
The
cult.
greatest warrior. Yeah.
And he does. Now, obviously, have there been many iterations of this film? Yes, there have been two. The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, did his version, which was terrible. And then there was Jason Momoa. Now, Jason Momoa's version was kind of like a.
What was the Rock's version?
There was I forgot what the Rock did one. I might be
The Rock
mistaken.
did Hercules.
Hercules, thank you. That's what it was.
That's
I
what
thought,
you're thinking of.
yeah, I was, and
Because I'm
that,
like, wait. Rock
yeah,
never did a
I thought
Conan.
I thought he did. That's why, because I remember Schwarzenegger and him
Or
were in
like
an
you
interview.
might be thinking like more Scorpion King,
Scorpion King,
and
yeah,
yeah.
but
But he did Hercules, but yeah, but
yeah,
I mean the sword itself.
I mean
For the
it's a
time, I mean the sword was
beautiful,
iconic. I mean, the only thing
which
close.
Schwarzenegger still has. If you watch the Stallone
Oh
and
yes, when
Netflix series, he
he's
has, yeah, Schwarzenegger has that sword in his office
yeah, he brought it out. What was it? They were like cutting cold cuts, or they're cutting something, and he
during
just brings out
Fubar.
the sword.
Yeah, during the discussions in Fubar, the Netflix TV show. You
Yeah,
hear him. They had Stallone went and saw him, and he starts cutting sandwiches, and I'm like, that's the sword from fucking Conan. And he's got it. It's just the dude just has it in his. But I guess you back then you could do that if you're the star. You
and
could take that.
one of my favorites. I mean, he's got what is it? Was Mako in this one or the second one?
Mako was in the second one.
Second one. I mean, this. I mean, it sets off. I really wish they would have continued, like, the religion of Conan's tribe of metal and was it winds? I'm trying to
It's
remember what the exact religion was. I
it
think it
was
was some.
very okay. So for people that don't understand this, because I want to kind of give a background, understanding Conan's tribal barbarian tribe nature, they were very I want to say almost spiritual aboriginal kind of Native American influenced. So tied a lot to the elements of the earth and to like giving back to the earth. So it's very much like that. That's part of why this Hyborian planet is kind of like a hodgepodge of these different faiths and concepts. Now, obviously, this is the 1982 film. It's not to be confused with the early 2000s Jason Momoa remake, and there are three films in the series. Technically four if you count Red Sonja, because Red Sonja does exist in this
Which we have
universe.
covered on a previous episode, so please look it up.
Yes, and just so people understand, this is Conan the Barbarian. Then there's Conan the Destroyer. Then there is Red Sonja. There was there now
And then
there
there was
have
Conan the Butch.
then there was Conan done by an Italian director, and he made like kind of bootleg films, and they were like 3 more installations
Chip,
done
chip,
of it,
chip, meow. No,
but they're
not those
terrible.
kinds of films.
Yeah, not dirty films, folks. These were like really bad, like Bollywood would look down on them. Bad,
Okay, I don't want Conan singing, please. No.
but they're bad. Now, obviously, Dave, your pick. I mean, oh my God, Flash Gordon. I mean, Flash Gordon.
I mean, yeah, Sam
It,
Jones, I mean, not the greatest actor
Queen,
in the universe.
Queen writing the music for this film.
I mean, yeah, Queen's the greatest, and yes, on my bike riding playlist when I'm out working out, I do have this playing because I mean, come on, it's Flash friggin' Gordon. Those that don't know the story, Flash Gordon originally was a serial action adventure radio story from way, way, way back when, and I mean, this one is more 1980s modern day. You get a football player for the Jets, known as Flash, which is kind of funny because the Jets, if you're not familiar with American United States football, they wear green and white jerseys. He's wearing a white shirt that has the name Flash in red lettering. Doesn't really track well, but it works out because that's the character and his colors. He's on a plane. He goes like to this resort or something to like relax, and he meets this beautiful reporter, and there's this freak storm that is happening, and they're seeking shelter. And they come across this disgraced scientist who is disgraced from NASA because of his very strange theories. Long story short, his theories were not strange, and he even had a rocket and capsule, and he takes them along with him because you need three people to operate the capsule to escape Earth so he can find what's causing these crazy weather patterns, little meteorite fragments, all acid rain, and all kinds of craziness
And mind
happening
you,
on Earth.
folks, football player, a football player, a news reporter, and a mad scientist. Just you cannot write
Walk
the
into a
80s.
bar. I
The
mean, yeah,
80s, the 80s was just the best hodgepodge of characters ever.
and they find themselves in the deep parts of space in this on this world with Ming the Merciless. Obviously, you can see Ming right in the poster there, brilliantly played by Max von Sydow, who is I've never seen him not play a good character ever. But he's just got that voice, and let's be honest, they did back in the early 30s and 40s, a lot of serials, a lot of comics were kind of they kind of went with the Fu Manchu kind of evil. They tried to go with an Eastern look that they felt was menacing, but that it was a sign of the times, regretfully. But in this case, he does a very it gives him a very menacing and evil and corrupt and tyrannical look. But they tried to update it without overly emphasizing any kind of racial motivations or
So Dave, what
physical
Dave's trying to say though
characteristics.
is, in this day and age, this movie would be canceled.
Yes, unless, well, hypothetically, if they went with a different look, no, they wouldn't be canceled necessarily because they have done an updated one in the early 2000s. It was only lasted one season on Sci-Fi Channel. They did do an updated Flash Gordon.
I remember it was a good show.
Yeah, it really was, and I have it on DVD actually. But long story short, we get a football player who is kind of like in a Buck Rogers type situation where he's a fish out of water, and he actually befriends several other races. One is the race of Hawkmen, and it's just what it sounds like. They have wings and they're barbarian like, and they love to fight in battle. He he kind of comes across a few different races who are all under Ming's boots, so to speak, and they all team up. And it's up to Flash to save the girl, to stop Ming, and to save Earth. And I mean, yes, the special effects, mind you, this is the 80s. Don't expect a whole lot from here. But the music, some of the writing is a little cheesy, mind you. Again, it was the 80s. But the music, the Queen score on here, and there was charisma with you're rooting for Flash the entire time, and it's just fun. I mean, it is a fun watch. And I mean, come on, and anyone who's ever seen the movie Ted, you know who they actually run into? Sam Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
They went up doing coke with him. In fact,
Which we don't condone. We do
no,
not
no,
condone
no,
that.
no, no, we don't. We don't condone Coke or Pepsi, but iced tea if you want. Some,
Iced tea is
some
always good.
zero sugar Gatorade. Wink, wink. This stream is not sponsored by Gatorade, but it could be.
It should be. I drink enough
But I
of it.
mean, this is just one of those movies I will sit and watch over and over again, and I have. I mean, it's freaking Flash Gordon. Rumors has it they want to do an update to this, but it would be interesting to see how they approach it. That's all I'll say about that.
I've
Dre, are
heard.
you ready for the number 3?
I'm always ready,
And
and
what are you thinking so far with my picks so far? Are you like
I have listen. This is the first time I can say I don't disagree with any of your choices. I think that they're beautifully picked. So I'm happy.
I'm shocking you the hell out right now, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm actually silenced by it. Like I'm actually
I mean, I
like
know you always pick really great films,
see you
but
humble me, sir.
let's see if you feel this way.
Oh shit. See, I knew he was setting me up. See, he's complimenting me. No, I can't argue this one either. I can't argue. I cannot argue
When
these.
I saw
Okay.
you picked Terminator, I was like, okay, I'm gonna fix him with my own time traveler.
All right. Well, okay. So understand this, folks. So there's a reason why Terminator is at number 3. So for me, I remember going to the theaters and seeing this movie and literally was just like thrown aback by how awesome the idea was. Like this guy from the future who's
Who's
going
not
back
really
in
a guy?
who's not really a guy and he's this robot with a flesh suit on and he's trying to, go back to stop the birth of the rebel leader. Like that is such an alien
Well, the
concept,
opening
obviously,
sequence was just
which is amazing. The
spellbinding.
battle, like, and it was all done with toys. Just so y'all, if for the people that didn't know, all that was done with toys and model
Yeah,
kits, a la what you out of
miniatures. Yep.
out of a Godzilla film. So take that with a grain of salt there. That was amazing. Then obviously the story, now Terminator 2 Judgment Day is by far one of my all-time favorite films. It came out when I was in high school. It came out the year actually I
Well,
graduated high school and absolutely
let's be
love.
honest. I mean, Schwarzenegger was already a powerful name, but I think this solidified him because he almost hardly ever says a word in this movie. I mean, he only
He's
has a
like
few
Darth Maul.
lines.
He's Darth Maul. He is the Darth. This was the movie that was like his Darth Maul, where Ray Park was like people love Ray Park, and they're like, man, you're
Mhm.
Darth Maul. Darth Maul had 4 lines in the Phantom Menace.
Yes.
4 lines. Schwarzenegger has, I'll be back, and then dun 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 dun
I'm looking
dun
for
dun
Sarah
dun
Connor.
dun.
You
You
know,
know, are you Sarah Connor? You know, it's like
or like
no, and then
when he storms the police station, I mean, it's
that
just
was an
insane.
amazing scene.
The special
Just
effects, like when he takes the eye out, and obviously you can see it's a
in the
fake head.
bathroom,
But I
that
mean,
was
but for
creepy.
the '80s, that was groundbreaking.
And
And it's
the idea of just like a time traveler, and then you had the human aspect of it, of where like so you get one story of the time traveler coming to
Kyle
kill,
Reese,
and then you have Kyle, who's now
Michael Biehn, who's also now this is a Cameron movie, James Cameron movie, and
so
guess
Linda
what?
Hamill,
Michael Biehn was also in Aliens.
exactly,
Your number 5.
and Linda Hamilton, who is probably one of the most iconic next to
She
Sigourney
was
Weaver as
married
far as
to Cameron for
at this
a
time,
good minute.
when she came in this film, she was married to him until Terminator 2, and they got divorced. But I digress. Linda Hamilton solidified herself as a person who you can see was viewed as like the damsel in
She was,
distress,
yeah,
and she
she was the damsel. Yeah,
quickly changes that role in the film, and that to me is iconic because never have I ever seen a movie where the main character that we were focusing on, which obviously the Terminator, you're expecting it to be Schwarzenegger, right? It wasn't. It was Linda Hamilton. The entire time you were focused on what Linda Hamilton was doing. And I think that that's what solidified my love for this
yeah.
franchise. Now, mind you, I said franchise. Do I love Terminator 1? Yes. Do I love Terminator 2? All time top 3 favorites of all time. Top 3.
Terminator
Terminator
3, he won't
3.
talk about.
I won't talk about 3. I won't talk about 4. I won't. I
I
won't talk.
liked I liked
I
Salvation and Genesis
Salvation was
personally.
Salvation was interesting for what it was. Genesis was terrible. And then I don't want to talk. Well, the two other movies that came out that
Dark
were not
Fate.
Dark Fate, which was a good video game.
That was the last movie. I think it was called Dark Fate, but also there was a short-lived one-season TV show, the
hmm
Sarah Connor Chronicles,
Chronicles, which is extremely good
which
with Summer
it
Glau.
yes, and of course that was Lena Headley.
Yeah, Lena Headey. She was the
Yeah,
she was actually she actually played Sarah
she
Connor,
played Sarah Connor,
and Summer Glau
and
was
yes,
the
oh
Terminatrix. Was she was
man,
she was they capitalized on that
post
Firefly.
Firefly, man,
They capitalized on it, and they did a great damn job. And
yes, they
folks,
did.
for
It's a fun watch if you want something to binge on a weekend.
Dave, you know what? You and I need to do an episode on franchises that should have gotten a season 2 or
Oh,
another season.
I mean, we can do a whole series just on
I
Fox
mean,
because they
I
love to
mean,
cancel shows after one
oh yeah,
season.
Space Above and Beyond. Cough, cough, cough. What great show.
John Doe.
D- Shit.
You
Fringe could add another season. Let's not even digress.
Yeah.
Dave's choice. Now listen, I got to introduce Dave's choice because this one has a personal place in my heart. Before Rory was born, my wife and I rewatched all 3 of these movies, and it is.
Bro,
I know
bro, what are you
Dave.
talking about?
No, I know. See,
What are you
no,
talking about,
Dave.
bro?
Now, see, Dave, it's a special place in my heart between our friendship between me and Dave. But I digress when I say Back to the Future, quintessentially is
Still holds up.
80s, and it will hold up. I have the Nendroids of the Doc and Marty coming in later this year. When I saw them, I had to get them. So, Dave, this is your movie. Talk
I
about it.
mean, Back to the Future. Again, I love a movie whenever you get a guy who things are not going right, and he the zero to hero kind of thing. Marty McFly, Michael J. Fox. I mean, come on, it's friggin' Michael J. Fox. Let's just put it out that right there. I mean, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson. I mean, Crispin Glover for what he was in this film. Just
We
I
actually went on
mean,
to do bigger things outside of this
yeah,
franchise.
but I mean, it's he is a teenager. He is someone who is he's called a slacker by his principal. He has these aspirations, these dreams of becoming a rock star, but he's always having people tell him that maybe he's not good enough, you're too loud. And there's a really funny scene where him and his band are trying out for the Battle of the Bands for the school dance, and he's playing really loud version of Power of Love. And of all people, the teacher who stands up with a megaphone tells him you're just too darn loud is Hugh Lewis. I mean, they sprinkle little Easter eggs in this movie. Marty dreams of being something better, and his family, they're a bunch of slackers. They don't exactly have the greatest life. His mother is an alcoholic. His father is a pushover. He has a brother that works at a BK, and his sister has all these different guy friends. Yet his mother says she doesn't like a girl who chases after a guy. You know, Everything is just falling apart. But his best friend, who is an older scientist, played by Chris Lloyd, reminds Marty, "Hey, I need you to bring my camera, and I need you to meet me at the mall at like 1:14 in the morning." So he goes there, skateboards. He finds out that Doc's truck is there. The van, it opens up, and he pulls out a DeLorean, all souped up, and he's built a time machine. He proves it to Marty, but it's powered by plutonium that he stole from Libyan terrorists who then show up, shoot Doc. Marty's just trying to escape, and he winds up traveling back in time to 1955 when his parents were teenagers. I mean, talk about fish out of water. He inadvertently bumps into his parents, causing them to not actually wind up together. He has a photograph with his brother and sister slowly fading away. He realizes, okay, he needs to find the Doc of that time. They need to try and figure out a plan not only to get Marty back to the future, but also get his parents together so that they actually get together, and so he can actually be born. But in doing so, he goes back to 85 and his life is tremendously better. His father is now a award-winning author. His mother is not an alcoholic. His brother goes to an office wearing a suit and tie. Like the life is just so much better. It's just one of those movies, like literally, you hear me say this all the time. I could sit down and watch this movie over and over again. I have watched this movie over and over again. I have Back to the Future comic books in a frame right above me. I have the license plates. I have a picture of me and Christopher Lloyd from 2018 when he was in Niagara Falls, New York at the Comic Con there. I built a Back to the Future Ghostbuster Proton Pack. Back Ghostbusters and Back to the Future are two of my favorite franchises of all time. I always wanted to be Marty McFly. I always wanted to travel in time. And it's just one of those movies where, yes, it is dated. And let's be honest, it's 2024. If we went back 30 years, be 1994. Kind of sad, Dre, right?
Sad, isn't it? That
Because both you and I would have been sophomores in high school.
exactly.
That's kind of weird and creepy, but but yeah, I mean, Back to the Future. Robert Zemeckis, Bob Gale wrote the movie. Robert Zemeckis directed this. Steven Spielberg presented this movie. Industrial Light and Magic were behind the special effects. Even today, the special effects, let's be honest, special effects still, I mean, they use, well, they really didn't have CGI per se, but they did use some elements, but they had a lot of practical effects. The car lighting, the exterior parts of the car lighting up, they actually lit up for the practical effects. When the car vanishes, you hear the three sonic booms and it vanishes in a brilliant burst of light, you get a twin trail of fire that is perfectly streaming across, like it's flawless, like it actually is really happening. The spinning license plate, I mean, just everything was just perfect. And by the way, the movie itself, the production of this movie was not perfect. Michael J. Fox was not the original Marty McFly. No, Dre knows this. It was actually Eric Stoltz.
Hmm.
And they
That's why
realized
we wait. That's why you get the joke. If you saw the bad movie of Batman and Batman
meets
and Supergirl,
Supergirl.
Batman meets Supergirl, the whole Eric Stoltz joke. For
Yeah,
those of you that don't know,
the
that's
little
where.
reference in there. But they actually, halfway through the film, they realized like he just doesn't have the chemistry with the other actors. He's just not pulling the trail that we want him to. So they get Michael J. Fox. Now, mind you, Michael J. Fox at the time is acting in Family Ties. So
Yep.
he's already committed during the time that they're making this movie. So what he does after a lot of schmoozing and a lot of talking to, he agrees to do Back to the Future. But what he's doing is he's making Family Ties. Then he flies out to do Back to the Future, and then he goes back. He's doing it repeatedly. He was burning the candle at both ends to make this movie. And you cannot even see that in his portrayal. A lot of times, they did save some time with refilming the movie because they used original scenes that Stokes filmed with different angles, and they kind of cut and pasted the Michael J. Fox parts into them. You really can't tell unless you're really looking close. Like you can see what looks like the back of Marty McFly, but it's really Eric Stoltz. So I mean, it's just one of those movies. I mean, the score of this movie is I mean, the soundtrack is 80s. I mean, everything is great in here. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie where you like imagine if you ran into your parents. How would you and you needed to get your parents to actually meet and fall in love. But then you're dealing with the bully Tom Wilson, Biff, who plays a great bully, let's be honest.
Who's actually at MegaCon this weekend?
Yeah, him and Leah and
Hmm.
Michael and dude, don't get me started. One of my friends, her and her husband, they've gone to meet Michael J. Fox and Leah Thompson so many times. They went again. They're at MegaCon. She posted pictures with her and Leah Thompson. I'm just like, I was like, just kill me now. Her husband's in regular clothing, but she's in Lorraine's gown.
Wow.
Lorraine's dress from the dance, posing with Leah Thompson. I'm like Danielle, you're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. Uh, but but they're awesome. But I'm like, yeah. And the thing is, I had a crush on Leah Thompson. I still do
Who
because of
didn't?
Back to the Future and well, Howard the Duck. But that's another story. Uh, but no, this is it's just one of those movies, man. Like again, I love movies when the impossible happens to someone who maybe they don't have the greatest life. They go through this amazing adventure that no one's ever going to know, and they wind up changing their future for the better. You know, he wasn't trying to do there's a scene where he's actually in a radiation suit trying to scare his father into asking his mother out, and he's using a Walkman, blasting some Van Halen guitar solos, and he says he's Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan. He does the Spock, the Vulcan symbol, which I can't do on my fingers because of my coordination. But he does that. I mean, there's just so many really great, awesome scenes in here. The production quality is beyond amazing because, of course, it's Robert Zemeckis and it's friggin' Steven Spielberg, producing this. I mean, this is one of those movies that they shopped this around at a lot of different studios. Disney passed on this, I think, twice
Hmm.
because the whole concept was, wait a minute, this kid falls in love with his mother. That was the thing that was like Disney was like, no, no, we can't do this. And originally, it wasn't even a car they were using for time travel. It was a old style refrigerator, but kids could easily lock themselves in the fridge. So they were like, well, we can't do that. We can't do that. And how is he going to move the time machine around? So they switched it over to 1985 DeLorean, which I mean, we can sit here and talk about all the behind the scenes stuff that I know, but this movie hits me in the heartstrings so much. Back in 2018, when I decided I was going to do my first cosplay, Christopher Lloyd was coming to town. It was also the 35th anniversary of Ghostbusters. I was like, what if Doc Brown worked with Ray Stans in the private sector? What would that look like? And I created a Back to the Future proton pack. You can actually see it on my Instagram, which I'm going to be rebuilding a new version of that sometime in the future, but no pun intended. But I mean, it's just one of my favorite things of all time. I mean, Michael J. Fox, one of my favorite actors. Uh, through all the adversity, he's doing cons again, and even with his Parkinson's, which to me says that he must be doing better or he's feeling better in his life. But I mean, it's Back to the Future. It's to me, it's always going to be timeless. I have it on DVD. I have it on Blu-ray. I mean, I have the Steelbook. I have it. It's just one. It's one of my favorites of all time, hands down.
Like I said, I can't argue. Your choices have been solid. It's something that it's very hard for me to want to argue. Let's just put it that way.
Are we ready for number two?
Of course. Now, folks, again, I knew a Star Wars movie had to make it for Dave, but my choice, it's quintessentially. I mean, this is the guy that
No,
inspired my life.
notice we kind of went with the second movie in both of these
Uh,
franchises.
Now, mind you, what they consider bridge movies, more ESB is more of The Empire Strikes Back is more of a bridge movie. It's sort of like Two Towers. I think Two Towers is exactly what I would consider a bridge movie, the perfect film. It's like it's gonna bridge the first two
I
to the
mean,
end,
come on.
and
Whenever
it's
someone says, "What's your favorite Star Wars movie?" Everyone, come on.
you go Return of the Jedi or you go Star Wars, right? But then people always sleep on Empire Strike Back. I mean, it has
No,
some of the great scenes,
Empire is always going to be the greatest. I mean, come on.
but people won't say it. Now, Temple of Doom, by far, it's the one Indiana Jones movie I have rewatched countless times. I have fallen in love with this movie since I was a kid. When they announced Hasbro had announced the toys, I ran out and was trying to get them. I bought all the toys and then sold
I
them, except for Jonesy because Indiana Jones is Jonesy. I love him.
yeah.
And I mean, for what this was worth, it does have a link to Star Wars in many ways because it's Club Obi Wan, where he goes to the club. You
Yes, it
know,
does.
it's there. There's also, you know,
There's Easter eggs to Star Wars in Raiders of the Lost Ark too. So,
exactly. So when you see this film and you think of like I just think of the
by the way,
mysticism, the snake getting cut. To
both are
in,
George Lucas films.
both are Disney films now too. Just to let's just sprinkle that little seed out there, folks, at how popular these are. Now, obviously, there's a lot
Disney by
of
adoption, let's be honest.
It's Disney by adoption, but like fantastic films in and of their own right. I mean, very powerful imagery. Like I think of as a kid watching these movies, and I say kid because I was
Well, we
probably
were kids, yeah.
we were kids. I was in my early teens
I think there was
around this
this one
time.
might have been, what is it, 85 for
Let me see.
Temple and maybe
Temple of Doom.
86? No, 84
Temple of Doom. Let's see.
for Empire?
Temple. I'll tell you now. Temple of Doom. 84. So I was 6 years old. 6 years old. And I remember watching the
Oh,
movie.
Empire was actually 1980.
So yeah, because Star Wars was 76. The original was 76.
I
So
was
seeing
2
this
years
film,
old. Jeez.
seeing this film, I remember the heads were squished because that was what you did in the theaters to get before they had widescreen. So if you saw
Yeah.
standard films before widescreen, they were all their heads were like it looked like somebody had a compressor on the side of their heads. And just as an overall, I mean, the film is just fantastic. I mean, it progresses the story. You and it took a turn because see Indiana Jones in the it's always been this tie to him on these extremely tied to and now obviously I'm going to go a little bit of backstory. It's based on the British character Alexander Tremaine, who was an explorer, and this was he Indiana Jones was the American counterpart to that, and he goes on these elaborate crazy adventures, you know, for mostly what seems like religious artifacts. Obviously, the Ark of the Covenant in the first film, and then this one was the was really they call it the Temple of Doom. And for many people, they didn't understand that. Why would they go to like Eastern faith? Because it wasn't like there's gods, but there are. If you know, I've studied
Yes.
Eastern mythology, and I have degrees in Asian history.
Kalema.
You know, they were Vishnu and Shiva and Kali, and I mean, it ties very much to deep into Hinduism and the subcontinent of India. And it's such an amazing. Like I showed this when I was teaching history in middle school to my sixth grade class. Now, mind you, there are scenes that I don't necessarily agree with to teach to show the kids, and I got in trouble for it. I did get a talking to.
Monkey
Uh,
brains?
no, not that. It was the hands on the boobs. When he puts
Oh, okay.
when he puts the hand on the boob statue and he like pushes it in, like that's like where I got yelled at, and my boss looked at me and was like, "Really?"
That's
You know?
nothing now, though. I mean,
Yeah, that's nothing compared to what kids see now. But to the average person, it was a little bit risque, and for obvious reasons. I mean, I love this film. It is, you know,
it's a fun film from like the scene with Club Obi-Wan, obviously. On a plane, the daring escapes that they have, riding the mining car through the mines,
now
freeing the kids,
and
Indiana Jones under spell.
now wait. Let's start this though. Dave said it best. If you really want to talk about obscure references to things that people don't really know, Lucas, if you did not know, was inspired. And this is gonna be a whole thing. I'm gonna eventually do with Dave on this channel. George Lucas was influenced a lot by Kurosawa and his films.
Yes.
The Hidden Fortress, which is the film that inspired Star Wars, the concept and the characters, right? So, of course, one of Kurosawa's actors was Sonny Chiba. A lot of people who know him know Sonny Chiba. He's a big martial arts, big into the Asian films. Sonny Chiba was the triad gangster boss
Yes, he
in
was.
Club Obi-Wan, and he's the one who poisoned Dr. Jones.
Yes.
And a lot of people didn't know that. And as a kid, I didn't know that. But as an adult who's a huge cinephile, I'm a huge cinephile. And if you don't know what that means, I'm a lover of movies. I own several. I've seen a lot. I will get myself. I will make the extra mile to go to a movie. And this is got everything that I wanted in a film, and it's
Including
inspired me.
nepotism to a certain extent, if you will.
It does, but that's not. I'm not going to go into like that part of it. This for me more is what I was always as a kid inspired to want to be an archaeologist. I became a historian. So
And I mean, come on, Harrison Ford. He
it's Han
was.
Solo at this point. People knew him as Han Solo, or is
Yeah,
he the dream? Is
but I mean
Indiana Jones the dream of Han Solo
his
in the Carbonite?
his charisma, his swagger. You're gonna hate me for this, but I would say that his swagger, his portrayal is it's of the things of like it would be our generation's John Wayne because you know how the Duke used to talk like this, huh? And
Well, it's
Harrison
even
Ford had his own kind of like in most of his characters, it's kind of that same swagger, although it might be more subdued, like in Blade Runner when he played Decker. Um, but Dr. Jones is very akin to Han Solo, but he's a bit more educated and he's cautious at times. Bit more cautious than maybe Han Solo is,
well, think about Clear and Present
you know?
Danger when he played the
Yeah.
government, when he played the aide to the president. You have all these. And for those of you that don't know, those are James Patterson books that he was in the early '90s when he took time away from these sci-fi action films. He did more political intrigue, and
Yeah.
those like Clear and Present Danger was a great film. He was in another one that was a sequel to that one, Air Force, not Air Force One. Was it Air Force One?
No, Air Force One was he played the president and there's terrorists. That's a completely different storyline.
Thank you, thank you. But it was a different. There was another film that was in
Patriot Games is the
that
other one
Patriot
you're thinking of.
Games. Thank you. That was a sequel. That was a direct
Yes.
sequel from Clear and Present
Was
Danger
Yep.
with James Earl Jones.
Yes, sir.
So for those of you that don't know, like whenever you see an actor, and a lot of people like go to the IMDb, go look at some of their older films because some of those films are really good gems that are not going to be remade.
Well, I mean, and those that don't know, George Lucas and Harrison Ford teamed up together because Harrison Ford was just a carpenter working on like the deck of Lucas's house, and he offered him a small little part in American Graffiti,
And
and
goes
then
on to
and then it
build.
was like, hey, I want you to play this character in Star Wars, this guy who's he's kind of a rogue, and he killed it there. I mean, there's some other movies that you would not know unless you're a deep Harrison Ford fanatic like yours truly. uh the Return to Navarone, which was a sequel to Guns of Navarone, he was in that
7 days,
one.
6 nights.
Yeah.
A
But
lot
I
of
mean,
people forget that one too.
you can't fault. I mean, this is Temple of Doom gets flack from a lot of people in my circles. But honestly, it's one of the best ones. I mean, it's out there. Is it my favorite indie film
No,
personally? No, no.
Last Crusade is most everybody's favorite because
Yes,
because
yes.
everybody knows why.
It's
You have his
because
dad.
him and his father.
Is Faja.
Yes. But I mean, it's a great movie. Kate Capshaw, who was married to Spielberg. That's also how she got the gig in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Let's be honest. Uh, but I mean, the imagery in this movie, you get Harrison Ford. Indiana Jones is brainwashed. Basically, he's about to basically kill Short Round, and I mean, I think that's like the most darkest we've seen Indy in the entire film, in all the films. But it's a great adventure movie. It's got that old kind of western, kind of like a Wild West kind of swagger to it. You even get like the hero riding off into the sunset kind of vibe. And I think that's why Indiana so many people love Indiana Jones. It's a western without being a western, you know? But Dre, how do you feel about my pick? Empire Strikes
Again,
Back.
Empire is such a great movie. Like I can't. I can't fault you for Empire because it's like I said, it's a bridge film. It's probably one of the best in the franchise. A lot of people that are in the Star Wars, and
I
we do
mean,
have we do know many people in the Star Wars
Oh yes,
community,
we do.
and they can argue with
Joey
us,
Padawan and a whole bunch of others.
and I'm gonna say, like I remember seeing this in theaters as a kid. I mean, I
I,
remember having the Tauntaun toy. I remember
when they
having
brought the special effects version back to the theaters, I took my brothers.
that. Yeah, I took I
Okay,
think my girlfriend and her siblings at that time when it came back because it came back in late
'90s.
the late 90s.
Yeah, around 96, 97, around that
I was in
time frame.
college.
I
Yeah,
was a
we
senior in
we
high
were in
school.
college.
Yeah,
We were freshmen in college.
but I mean, to me, I mean, you get last we saw everyone, they were getting awards. Everything seemed like there was a bright future. Now we see the rebels on a ice planet. It could have been Buffalo, New York, for all that we know. Uh, and
Canada.
you get Luke. He's got his lightsaber. He's into some danger. Looks like he's gonna freeze to death. And Han's like, "Well, I'm going out there." Well, no, your tauntaun's gonna freeze.
Wait,
And he goes,
wait.
"Well,
Can I
I'll
say
see you
wait
in hell."
before you even continue? Can I address something that nobody in the Star Wars community has ever addressed?
Sure.
You have to be force sensitive, as we know, to ignite a lightsaber. Han Solo ignited the lightsaber. Just throwing that out there to you Star Wars nerds that say that people don't realize the fandom, explain that one because Han has never once been pegged as having force powers, but
Well,
ignited a lightsaber.
I'm gonna throw this at you. We don't know Han's true lineage.
Yes, we do. They've acknowledged it and they've said it in the fandom that he's not force
Maybe in like
sensitive.
the books or something, but I haven't read the books out there.
So I'm just stating that for the fans, he ignited the lightsaber to cut open the tauntaun to
Yes.
save Luke. And
And I thought they
Luke
smelled bad on the outside.
exactly. So just to throw that little tidbit at you
But
guys.
uh but Han, I mean, the rebels are on the run. Luke gets a message from Obi-Wan's Force Ghost saying, "Hey, you need to go to Dagobah, search Yoda. He's going to teach you everything. He's going to make you a real one boy." It's he and they go on this, they kind of split. They go in different directions. Of course, we get to meet Lando Calrissian.
Billy D. Williams, Colt
Billy,
45.
and thank God he's still with us too.
Yeah,
But
he was at a couple of conventions I've been
I
to.
mean, we get to meet Yoda. We get Luke learning more about his powers and really realizing, wait, just how strong the Force is. When little Yoda, little short statured Yoda, lifts Luke's X-wing out of the friggin' swamp like it's nothing. And of course, I mean, come on, Luke going 1-to-1 with Vader, knowing it's a trap. Well, these are my friends. I have to go. I have to save them. I'll be back. I promise. And he goes and he's facing Vader and he finds the truth about Vader. Vader tells him straight out,
I
"I'm your
am your
father."
father.
And
No, it's
it's
not true.
and come on, that was one of the most craziest revelations we had as a kid. Like, wait a minute,
I,
Vader's his friggin' father?
that's your papa? Like, hello?
And I mean, come on, you hear like, well, what I always would have loved to have found out is like, the moment Vader finds out that this punk who blew up the Death Star, his last name was Skywalker. Be like, son of a, but we never had that. But no, I mean, Empire is always going to be one of the greatest films. It leaves you on a cliffhanger, kind of. You know, I mean, it's I can't think of a better way to put it. I mean, it's just an awesome movie. I mean, things are looking their darkest, and they're still able to find hope. I mean, Empire Strikes Back it's just amazing. I mean, it's just that the Empire Strikes Back, the rebels are on the run. They're scattering all over the galaxy and just damn. And of course, Han Solo, one of the most pimpest lines you're ever going to hear in your entire lifetime or the next. Leia says, I love you. He says, I know. Like a pimp.
I have the cups that say that.
So let's go ahead and go on to the next one. These are our honorable mentions, correct?
Yeah, these are films that they
Let
could have made the list, but
let's see if Dre's still pleased with my pick. So far,
oh shit,
he's been shocked.
I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this because that's trauma. Both of these movies are trauma for many people. Obviously, my choice is Legend, and
With
for
Tom
those of you,
Cruise and Mia
listen,
Sara,
listen.
Tim
Now,
Curry.
I was about to say, don't leave out the darkness and Tim Curry. I mean, come on,
Tim
the
Curry
villain,
is life.
folks. The villain's name is the Darkness, not
Not to be
like it's
confused
got
with
a
the band.
name. No, it's not. No, it's the darkness. Think about that. When we're kids, you're scared of the dark. You don't know what's in there. This is a manifestation of fear. A red skin, black horns, curved,
Well, I mean,
purely
come on. It's Ridley
evil.
freaking Scat.
Now, wait. Now, mind you, McFarlane, back in the 90s, made what he called the movie scenes, the movie maniacs, and he made the scene of the Manator, which was Tim Curry, the Darkness, watching Mia Sara dance with the dress. For those of you that don't know,
I
probably one of the
mean, come
most
on. Who wouldn't want to
amazing
watch Mia
scenes.
Sara dance in a dress? I'm just,
Well, no, she was dancing with a dress that was animated, but it was like if you watch it, there's like the scenes are like where the dress actually looks like it's a body of a demon, and then like it,
yes.
and that is just such a great play. Now, obviously, Tom Cruise, he's your hero, and it's true to D&D. What does he do? He goes on a quest to go save the princess from the darkness, and he levels up when he fights a bog hag, a
Wait,
witch.
is this Super Mario?
I know, yeah, it's kind of like Super Mario, but not Super Mario. But it's, I mean, iconically, it's one of those films that
It's Legend
I,
of Zelda to hell.
you know,
Okay.
it's to me, it was one of those films I owned it on VHS when they made the special edition DVD. I bought that. I
The
don't,
light laser that they basically create.
I don't think they ever made a Blu-ray special edition, and if they ever do, I will find it because I'd love to own it.
Yeah.
It's one of those films in my collection that would need to be in my collection. I mean, you
I
know,
mean, the sidekicks and all the little minions and everything are very likable. I mean, it's a really Scott film. The special effects,
that's where it gets you, and it's all
the
practical.
special effects, the practical
Practical.
effects, and I mean, anyone who's ever seen Tim Curry, aka Pennywise, aka the bad guy from I mean, he was the evil concierge from Home Alone 2. I mean, he's been in so many different movies and films.
How could you
Uh
forget Clue?
Mick Hale's Navy.
Mikhail's Navy. Oh my God, you really hit me with a nice one. That was great.
But
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
he's played so many amazing characters. He even was on Psych.
Yeah, he was.
He was on Psycho one or two times. I mean, he's just one of those great. Yeah, anyone who's an old school like Halloween specials from the 80s, he was the head witch from The Worst Witch.
Hmm.
I mean, he's just. Come on, Rocky Horror Picture Show. How can I forget that?
I'm about to say, like, I mean,
Dr.
that's
Frankenfooter.
that's Dr.
I mean,
Frankenfurter. I mean, how
I
do you
mean,
forget that?
you now know who we're talking about, Tim Curry, and look at him. That poster right there. That poster, that's exactly how he friggin' looks, even better. And how he talks with like they're not digitizing his voice.
No, that was actually his voice acting.
That's him with just like a
Very.
little echo, and that's all. Like he friggin' kills it. And I mean, you forget Hellboy. I mean, they killed it with him.
He
The
it was it was
practical effects were beyond.
it
And
was
this is what,
evil.
86 or
I think.
83? I'm
I
looking it
just
up
was.
right now.
I'm already on it. I'm already on it. It is 85.
85. Okay. But I mean, it's again amazing. Just an amazing film. And like you said, trauma, because we see the one unicorn badly uh badly damaged. They ripped the unicorn's horn off, and the other one is lost because it's a whole thing that there's two unicorns that the male and the female. That you can't without one, the other is gonna die. And that's kind of the metaphor with Tom Cruise and Mia Sarah that she's his true love and he will do anything to save her. And it's just a great film.
Very
It's
much a step outside of and away from the typical what you would expect
yeah.
from a Tom Cruise film, because a lot of people
And
expected
let's be
something,
honest, this is what D&D movies should almost be like
and they did that right with
to a sense.
which there. I know people have asked me, a couple of our friends have asked me to like talk about like, are you gonna ever talk about the Dungeons and Dragons movie that just came out with Chris Pine? Yes, and I would actually put that movie on the same level as this because it evoked
But
that.
not the one with Thora Birch.
No, 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 no. But I will,
I'm going to hell
like
for
I
that
said,
one.
I will say like this is where I'm gonna say now. Obviously, Never Ending Story. I mean, another movie that is childhood trauma. Childhood trauma. If we were to do the movies of childhood trauma, Legend, Never Ending Story, It.
Never Ending Story is just, I mean, what Dre's talking about is, of course, long story short, yes, another movie with a kid that's not exactly living his best life.
Fred Savage.
Huh?
Was it Fred? No, not Fred Savage.
You're thinking of Princess Bride, you
Princess
dork.
Bride. Yeah, I had these moments.
You dork. Or Deadpool.
Yes.
The second version of Deadpool one. No, in this story, there's a young boy named Sebastian or Bastian, who he's gifted. He gets this book and he's reading this book while he's hiding from bullies during a storm, and he's reading the story of Atreyu, who's kind of like a tribal Native American warrior. Who is going on his journey? He has his white horse, was Atrax or Ajax?
Artax.
Artax was his name, and he's going on this journey to help the childlike empress that you see right there, and right above him. And his there's this evil swamp, and eventually his horse is being sucked deep in. It's like quicksand. Atreyu's able to escape, but his horse isn't, and it's just a tear jerking, heart wrenching
Because you're
scene.
watching the
Is
horse sink.
imagine losing your best friend, and that's what was happening. Again, this is a movie where the practical and special effects were phenomenal. The writing, I mean, this is all Jim Henson, by the way. All the creature effects in this movie. You got living rock people. You have all these different races, and of course, come on, the flying dragon dog, Falcor.
Falcor.
You know, and it's just an amazing adventure film. And the thing is, as this young boy is reading this story, he's finding that him and the story are connected, and he thinks he's imagining it, but then later on in the film he finds that he is a part of the story that he's reading right now, kind of blurring the lines of reality. And that's what really kind of pulls you in. Because I mean, come on, how many times were you a kid, you're reading a book, you're reading a story, and you're like, oh, I wish I was a part of it. And then suddenly, what the hell? I am a part of it. And it's just kind of mind blowing, and it makes you just believe. I think that's the best way to put it. It makes you believe, and it just brings you back to being a child every time you watch it. Now, the sequels to Neverending Story, not so much. Neverending Story 2, I would akin that kind of storylines, that kind of storytelling to Warriors of Virtue. It wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst. That was Neverending Story 3 with Jack Black as a bully. But that's another story for another time. So yeah, that was my honorable mention. Neverending Story, Dre coming with the heat, literally.
I mean, I can't help it, man. I like I said, I'm a cinephile. I think Dave can literally
Okay,
say, I I love movies. Like if he were to
but
say,
ladies and gentlemen, are we ready for the final picks?
of course, I want to see what they are. I gotta see your pick. I'm very curious because you've
I
had
mean,
bangers. You've had bangers.
you should know what my next pick is going to be.
Ghostbusters. I mean, it's duh. But obviously, I'm surprised you didn't think. I'm surprised you didn't know that my pick was this. So you already knew. But
Well,
like, if
yeah,
you had,
I
I
knew.
mean, folks, both of these are like I can reach back here and grab him because he's right here. I mean, folks. I mean, if it's not proof positive how much I love Michael Keaton,
I have a microfiber cloth for my glasses of Vigo the Carpathian. Okay,
so
you get
proof
if you guys
positive.
know, you know I'm a Ghostbuster person. So
I mean, exactly. If you don't know Dave loves Ghostbusters and I love Batman, it's kind of like duh. So let's just
my wallpaper on my phone right now.
well,
Frozen Empire coming out March 22nd.
it's my
Go to your
family.
local theaters.
It's my family at Disney, folks. I mean, so that's just my wallpaper. Um, but Batman,
I mean,
Michael Keaton.
what more can you say? Just
I,
Batman. I mean,
I mean, literally, I could stop there and just say Michael Keaton,
Jack
Jack
Nicholson,
Nicholson. That's it. Prince soundtrack. The year this movie it came out,
Kim Basinger, though.
Kim Basinger, yeah,
Mm.
Vicky Vale. I will never forget that the year this movie came out, my parents that Christmas, my mom bought me the soundtrack on cassette for my Walkman, and
Backdance.
you had Prince singing all the Prince wrote the soundtrack. Can't beat that.
Yes.
I got the Batmobile, which was amazing. The Batmobile was dope. I had now Kenner was the company
Did you
that put out
have
the
the
toys.
baseball cards?
I did. I had the
Remember the
entire.
trading cards?
I had the entire. I had a binder
Yep.
that had
So
everybody
did
in it.
I,
Um,
including
I
the
had
stickers.
I had the Joker from the movie Joker, where you could squeeze. It had a little thingy on the figure, and you'd squeeze it so the flower would spit out the water. I had Batman that he had his belt that would come out with it, so it had strings, so you could hang him
Yeah.
from like buildings and stuff.
Was it like a little like a batarang tied on a string to the belt or something like that? I think
It
it
was
was.
basically it was like the utility belt, but it was like a batarang.
Yeah.
I mean, hands down, this film was. I mean, it's Tim Burton. I mean, Tim Burton is another
I mean,
director
it's Tim
we could talk
Burton.
about.
They completely rebooted and revitalized Batman because I mean before this we were used to the Adam West and the blue outfits or even in comics the blue outfit. They gave us a black outfit. They gave us Mr. Mom
I'm
as
not gonna
Bruce
lie to
Wayne,
you,
and everybody and their grandmother were hating on it, and he killed it.
but
And
here's the
even
thing:
in 2023, Michael Keaton as Batman, he
he
kills it.
killed it. He killed it. And I'm gonna
He
say
killed it
this:
in Batman meets Supergirl.
Supergirl, and he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be, but they edited him out in Last
Yeah.
Kingdom or Lost Kingdom, Lost Empire, whatever it was.
Yeah, I haven't watched that just yet. I'm gonna be watching it soon at some point.
But for those of you that have never seen this film, I mean, this is quintessentially what if Marvel was to say ever complain that there was a series that could have rivaled them, this would have been the start of a DC universe.
Well, let's say this. In the last 40 years, this is probably, and I know I'm gonna get heat. This is probably the best live action DC movie in the last 40 years.
Are we taking Christopher Reeves out of the running? Are
Okay,
we taking
I
Gal
now
Gadot out of the running?
listen to me. I said 40 years. So Christopher Reeve in Superman 1 and 2, that would be beyond 40 years. So we're not counting those two
Okay,
because
so notice what I'm saying.
Superman 3 and 4 weren't the greatest.
No,
All
Richard
right.
Pryor did not make it for me.
No,
But
no.
then you have Gal Gadot, Cavill. I mean, you got to give them
Okay.
their due.
Yeah.
You got to give
Oh,
them their due.
but as far as a first movie and how earth shattering this was, I mean, this kind of brought, I mean, this was 1989, so it harkens. a new era of superhero movies.
Well,
They
this is that
were they
dark
the
was
greatest?
the
No, but
darker.
at least we got an infusion of superhero movies coming through the pipeline after this.
Well, this was kind of like the gateway. This was like the what a lot of people say was the gatekeeper film. I think Superman
Well,
was the early one, and then you had this one. This was
I'll
those are the
say
true.
gateway. Gatekeeper is a different term that we use in
No, no,
social media.
I know the gatekeepers are the people that watch things. Duh. I think this was, but to me, I think that if you
The gatekeepers, but not the key masters.
but see if I
I had to do that.
but see if I look at Batman, it's quintessentially one of the best films ever made. I mean, it's not in my top three, which is kind of funny to say that you would
I mean,
expect it to be in my top three. And there is a Batman film,
it
but
grounded Batman. It made him more reality based than anything else. Because I mean, look at the Adam West. Look at the cartoons. I mean, this was a Batman who, this is a Batman who was, you know, he was more grounded in reality. Like you see the Batcave. And when there's the big gala when Vicky Vale and her writing partner from the Gotham Gazette or whatever it was were there, you could see like the two-way mirror with all the cameras and surveillance. I mean, they really made this a Batman. It made you a reality that, yeah, Batman could potentially really exist, and they freaking killed it. Uh, the origin of the Joker as Jack Napier. I mean, we had Jack Palance in this movie. We had so many great people, and just the story itself was amazing. I wish Joker didn't die. I wish we could have had a few more with Jack Nicholson. But I mean,
but
and
see, Joker became a title because as long as we
yeah,
always had a Batman, we were always gonna have a Joker. I mean, that's kind of always been like the on running thing. You know,
yeah,
R.I.P. to Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill doing a fantastic job as the Joker. I mean, you have iconic people that have
and
definitely
animated
taken the
roles. Yeah,
ball. That have definitely taken the ball. No, he was joke. Mark Hamill took the role of the Joker with the paint and the laugh in the Birds of Prey television series. When he did when he shot, that was his laugh and his face with the paint doing that. That's the only role
yeah.
he's ever done besides the voiceovers.
Well, the closest would be Trickster in CW Flash.
Mm,
Alter
and
they did an alternate
I
world
know, I
Trickster
know,
that
and he was
was
he was
he
pretty
was
much the
very much
Joker
a
because
Joker-esque, but yeah.
he sounded
But
like him. But
yeah,
you can't.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
But I
iconic
mean,
though.
this movie, I mean, the black suit, the car, just everything. I mean, like his Batwing gets shot down. I mean, it was like, wait a minute, Batman's vehicles can be damaged and taken down. Yeah, the Joker proved it. I mean, it was grandiose, but also it was very reality, and I loved it. And I think it infused the Batman franchise, not just the movies, but all the media was infused with, like, yeah, whoa, Batman can be something than other than a cheesy Adam West portrayal. They were, I mean, hell, thanks to this, we got Kevin Conroy.
Very true.
They're like, hey, the movie did so well. What if we adopted it and did a cartoon? We're gonna adapt it. We're gonna do a cartoon, and they got this young man who he's done some bit parts here and there. He was a Juilliard student who actually went and was roommates with Christopher Reeve, with Robin Williams, and that was Kevin Conroy. And he flourished. I mean, for so many years, for so many decades to come, people when they read Batman comic books or they read anything that's about Batman, we're always going to hear Kevin Conroy's voice in our heads.
It's
And
true.
I mean, if it wasn't for this movie, we wouldn't know who Kevin Conroy is probably right now, you know? But this is an amazing pick, of course. Dre's pick was amazing.
I mean, I
I
can't
mean, come
again.
on.
And
It's
you
iconic.
and when you pick your pick, I mean, I can't argue your pick because guess what? Ghostbusters would make my list too. Ghostbusters is iconic. Iconic. It's such a franchise that
And
Besides you being the fan you are, it's still going to this present year. We're getting a new film.
in less than 2 months. Well, no, yeah, month and a
A
half.
month and a
Yeah,
half.
month and a half and counting down. And again, another movie I pick, which is a movie you can watch over and over and over again, which I do on a regular basis. A movie about screw ups that wind up saving the day, saving the world. I mean, you get three scientists, well, let's just say two and a half scientists, let's be honest, who get kicked out of their university right at the moment when they actually have an experience with the ghost in the library. So they have their proof. They're like, hey, we can, we can move forward. And that's when they're getting kicked out of the Columbia University. And Egon says, hey, yeah, we really have a definite chance of capturing a ghost and containing it, definitely. And of course, Bill Murray Venkman is like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. They talk Dan Aykroyd into mortgaging his house, and they go into business as eliminators, as Ghostbusters, and they're just. I mean, Dan Aykroyd plays the perfect, just happy-go-lucky, innocent at heart kind of scientist that really wants to do well. Bill Murray is the con man. He's always got an angle, and he's a fast talker. He can schmooze almost anybody. And Egon is the hardcore genius brainchild of everything. And they go capturing ghosts wearing flight suits, running around an old 59 Miller Meteor Cadillac that they souped up, and they're destroying hotels while catching ghosts, while also Sigourney Weaver, the love interest, you gotta love her. I mean, it's just one of those. I mean, how many? I have yet to find a person in the world who will tell me that they hate Ghostbusters.
If they do say they hate it, you know what? It's because they just
It's
don't appreciate the humor. They just don't like it. I mean, because like I'll be honest with you,
I mean, busted
someone like
makes you
my
feel
mother,
good. I mean, come on.
look, someone like my mother-in-law, who I love to death, she's not a movie person. Like she loves what she loves. And there are people that are like that, but they're mostly from a generation that came out
Yeah,
before these films were because you gotta realize creative thinkers that are very much can sync up with a character are why we choose these films that we choose. From just the movie perspective, we fall in love with films because there's a reason, a draw. Both these films would, I mean, a lot of things. There's story elements that are told.
yeah.
There's depth of character. There's the antagonist, your protagonists. You have this motley
Walter
crew.
Peck.
You know, like you get a
Well,
group
see,
of people
and
that
and
gotta come
that's what,
together to fight a common evil.
and that's the thing with Ghostbusters. You got three guys who could just be like three best friends who decide, hey, we're gonna do this thing that even if people think that we're crazy to do it, we're still gonna do it, and they
Hey,
do it
Dave, that's you, me, and Aaron.
basically. Well,
I'm Venkman.
I mean, I got Aaron to play Ghostbusters the video game remastered, and
I'm
he
just
got
saying.
into that. You're planning a Common Rider Ghostbuster mashup, so yeah, yeah. So I'll be Venkman. I'll have my
No, I would
flight
not be.
suit untucked.
No,
Huh?
no, I'm Venkman. I'm Venkman. I'm the one that would have that. I'm the goofy, not smart
Well,
one.
I
You're the
guess.
you're the Ray Stance.
See, everyone says that.
You are Ray. You're funny. You're
When
charismatic.
I went back to my job, the very first day in the training class, someone says, "You know who you kind of look like?"
Ray Stance.
I was like, "Are you gonna say Dan Aykroyd?" You're like, "Yeah." Do you get that? Like, for some reason, people think I look like Aykroyd. I wish I had his money. I think it's the hair that does it, but that's just me. But no, I mean, it's one of those movies where anyone could be the Ghostbusters. They're just average Joes, and they hire a fourth, marvelously played by Ernie Hudson. The original
Hmm.
character was trimmed down tremendously because originally they wanted Eddie Murphy in here,
I heard that.
and the original Venkman was going to be played by John Belushi. So there was a lot of changes done. At one point, John Candy was going to be in here, but it just things did not align properly. Anyone who's a big Ghostbusters fan, if you really want to read the actual stories behind Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters Afterlife, there is a book called A Convenient Parallel Dimension. It's by a gentleman by the name of James Green. Anyone that wants to find out more about this book, you can message me directly at Dave's underscore dimension on Instagram, and I will send you links to where you can get the book. He is an amazing author, James Green Jr. He's actually working on a Guns N' Roses uh, biographical book right now.
Mhm.
He's done books on the Ramones. He's an amazing author. He just came out with the Ghostbusters book this past year in a partnership with the Buffalo Ghostbusters and himself. There was actually a limited run podcast that was done discussing various chapters of the book. It's an awesome read. If you're a diehard Ghostbusters fan, definitely check it out. But I mean, that's the thing. This movie is not just a movie. When the movie first came out, there were people who started dressing up as Ghostbusters because they thought it was fun. But then, well, some people started dressing up as Ghostbusters, but also doing it to raise money for charities. And it swept across the entire world. And I'm proud to say I've been doing this since what 29 no, it was 20 fall of 2018. I've been a part of a local franchise here in Buffalo, New York, where we do fundraising for Roswell Park, or not Roswell Park, but for Toys for Tots, Alzheimer's, and a lot of other various charities. I do also do cancer fundraising myself, but that's outside of Ghostbusting. And we do an annual event at the firehouse in New York City every year, helping to raise money for the firehouse itself. I mean, Ghostbusters has changed so many people's lives. It's always going to hit me in a special kind of way. And plus, I mean, come on, how many of us as kids ran around pretending we were busting ghosts, right? So that's my pick, and I'm sticking to it.
And that's my pick, and I'm sticking to that. I think they're
So,
both awesome picks.
Dre, it's wrap up time. What does the Collector Safe Space have coming up this week?
Nothing. We have a whole lot of nothing. We are actually. I'm working. I lie. I'm working on a project that I let Dave know about, and we'll be having a video. Probably I'll mention it on Wednesday when I go live. Because y'all know I do my Wednesday lunch lives still. I'll mention it then. Because by then I should have things ironed out a little bit more to what I'm doing with this project. I'm having Dave help me out with it and a
Yep.
few other people that we're reaching out to. So I need a couple days to get things going. But that's pretty much what I'm working on. We are the wife and I did discuss something off of outside of that project, which is we're going to be
Okay.
going to GalaxyCon Richmond, and I'll be
Uh,
getting some celebrity pictures
when
and
is
be
that?
doing. That's in March. It's March 15th to the 17th, so it's in about a month's time.
Okay,
So
so anyone who might be going there, you
could
know,
meet up with me.
reach out to Dre, the Collector Safe Space, and or you can just message us through the Outer Dimensions podcast on Instagram or email us at the Outer Dimensions podcast at gmail.com. And hey, if you want to meet up with Dre, him and the family are going to be out and about at that con.
So I will
You
give a
know,
caveat. We will be there, but we won't be there till late Friday evening, and then we're probably only going to be going for Saturday and Sunday. Well, most definitely Saturday and Sunday, and probably leaving early-ish on Sunday. So if you want to meet up, let me know. Message me, like Dave said,
yep,
and that's so we can arrange so I can put you in the schedule because I will have my wife and my kids, and they're not really into the nerdy stuff, but I can always take some time away. So just let you hit us up.
awesome. Now that little project that Dre mentioned, it's something to help out someone who's a good friend of our community, a good person who's going through some well, he's going
Difficult.
through some life. You know,
Yeah, life.
life doesn't stop throwing lemons at us, and what do? We make some Mike's Hard Lemonade with it. That's what we do with it.
He's a
Uh,
good guy. That's what
yeah,
we're gonna work. That's what we're working to
but
get some
more
info.
details will be coming soon. Also, stay tuned to Dave's Dimension because I have some tech videos coming through. As you can see, I got the computer right here, the new grid. The new dimensional grid is sitting right next to me. I will be displaying some videos of me assembling the computer itself. And also, I am going to have some more unboxes. I just recently dropped a Super 7 Ultimate Screen Ranger unboxing, so please check it out. I'm still working on a few kinks with the how we're going to be doing some unboxes, and also very soon I will be we're going to be starting to campaign for the Ride for Roswell. Stream for a Cure happens every year.
Hmm.
It's usually a 8 to 10 hour, or who knows, maybe I'll do a 12-hour stream. Yeah, I'm tooling
Well, there is
around with that.
something good for that too, because I will say I will let the little cat out of the bag on this. Dave and I,
Well, what?
Dave and I have talked about this, and I said I wanted to do something nice for this because I've lost uh, you know, several people to cancer. My my
Yeah.
f- my father-in-law, my mom, several people, and I wanted to do something that would hopefully get some interest going in the community. So what I have done, I've reached out to Walter Hagen of Four Horsemen, and he is one of the many great people that work at that great company of Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions fame, and they are giving us hopefully a signed figure with the autographs of several of the artists and people that work there. So once I get that, I'll get an image for you guys. That will go up and it will be raffled off, and that money will go towards the Ride for Roswell. So
Mhm.
whoever wins it, that's where the money's going to go. It's going to be one of maybe a few little prizes because I'm working with another company to try to get something as well. This is a big thing, so I
Yeah.
wanted to try to go big.
And me myself, my mother suffered from skin cancer for many years. That wasn't the cause of her passing, but it definitely affected her life tremendously. So much so where she did not like having photos taken because she had a former skin cancer on her face. Which is, it's sad that when uh, me and my wife got married about 5 years ago, we wanted pictures of both of our mothers because both our mothers aren't around, but we didn't have many photos because my mom just she wasn't comfortable with herself. Cancer has a lot of different factors, both physical and also mental.
Mm.
Uh, so that's always a factor. My dad, had cancer. We found out the day he passed. He was hiding it from us. A lot of people do that, sadly. And also, I have a family member who is battling cancer right now. Um, and fingers crossed that she comes through this. But this is why we do this. My wife has been doing the Ride for Roswell for it's 9 years this year. This is going to be my fourth year, and we're not going to be stopping, not one bit. But
Mm.
Dre is tremendous for helping out. I mean, it is something that affects everyone, and I'm hoping everyone out there who's hearing this wants to support this initiative in one way or another, whether it's financially, or if you can't help financially, if you can at least share the information that we'll be having on. I'll be doing videos discussing it. Right now, we are looking at possibly repeating last year's routes of 44 miles through Canada. That's right, international, baby. Who knows? I might actually change that up and do something else. We might do a longer route. Last year was a 4 hour route, and this year, who knows? Maybe I'll do a 6 hour route. We'll see what happens. But I want to thank everyone for supporting us. Yes, guys, I apologize once again that we've been out of circulation for a few weeks. We're going to be doing a lot more coming through the pipeline. We're going to do everything we can to keep the Outer Dimensions podcast episodes coming out a little bit more consecutively. I think might be a good word.
Consistent's a good one too.
Consistently. So we'll be getting that through the pipeline. Our next episode is Best Films Battle, Episode 3, Best 90s Films. So, guys, please join us, and you can always find us wherever you get podcasts from, or just check us out on our individual channels. The Collector's Safe Space, featuring Dre, the CEO, the CFO, and the head mofo of the Collector's Safe Space,
Damn Skippy.
co-founder of the Outer Dimensions podcast, co-host of the Outer Dimensions podcast, and the father, the progenitor of the peanut that we see in the background. Uh, and of course, I am Dave of Dave's Dimension, the channel where chaos and insanity will always reign supreme. And of course, your home for tech toys and talk. But guys, you can always catch our streams. You can always catch the Outer Dimension podcast on our channels, but also check us out on podcasts and wherever you get your podcasts from. But until next time, Dre, what do you always say?
Watch your heads on the way out of the portal. We'll see you next time.
Thank you guys for supporting us, and we will catch you on the next dimension.